Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Housekeepers Podcast. Dare I say, the cleanest hour in podcasting. I am so super excited to be introducing you and actually getting to know myself, meeting for the first time, mind you, Miss Ronda Loftus. Did I get it right? Loftus?
You did. You got it right. It's Loftus.
Ronda?
It's long though because I have a hyphen, so it's
Oh, so
Loftus-Helit.
what is
But
it?
you did it right. Loftus-Helit.
Ronda Loftus-Helit. Yeah, that is long. All right.
Yeah, it's long.
So it's like a married maiden name kind of thing?
Yeah, it is. It's exactly that thing. When we first met, all of my husband, all our bills were in my last name, so I was just like, let's just keep it. It's easier than everything else.
It's always weird, that challenge
Plus, I
of
like my last name.
Yeah, of changing your last name, right?
It is.
Weird.
I was like,
it's a weird tradition.
then you got to get a new social security card and all that.
I say you should definitely be able to go with whoever has the better last name, or keep your own. What's the big deal?
I think that'd be great if you could just do it. Whoever has the best last name. Because my husband
just have that conversation. Yeah, I have a pretty strong last
silly.
name. So.
Everyone. You have the same last name as my sister.
Oh, very nice.
It's a very common last name.
Yeah, no question. So you're in Montana, right?
I am. I'm in Missoula, Montana.
Missoula, Montana. I ran a marathon in Missoula,
warm here
Montana.
right now. You ran a marathon in Missoula?
Yeah, the Missoula Marathon.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they had awesome.
So you've been here?
I have. Yeah, they had a guy playing a piano on the race trail. So as you're running, there's a guy out in the middle of a field playing a piano, and there's other people with horses out there, and it was quite a.
That's Missoula.
Yeah, I stayed at a bed and breakfast. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun over there in Montana. Montana. So you're at the Hillside Health and Rehab over in Missoula, and you're the EVS director.
I am, yeah.
Right? Did you grow up? Did you grow up in Montana?
I grew up right here in Missoula. I was born in the hospital here and everything.
Wow. So you've never left?
Mm-mm. No, wow. I like the hometown feeling of Missoula. It's small. I like the college. It's a college town too. So like, what's that? I just wanted to raise my kids here.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a great place. But what was it like growing up there?
It's different than it is now. That's for sure. It's cold in the winter, hot in the summer. And then growing up here, it was a lot smaller. It's expanded a lot since I've grown up. Where I lived, like you drive all the way down towards the interstate, and there was like no stores or anything. For a long time, you just have gas stations and a McDonald's. And like I lived up the street from the McDonald's and some hotels. But now there's stores just everywhere. It's crazy how much it's expanded in the last 30 years.
Yeah, no question. Are you the only child, or do you have brothers, sisters?
I have a brother, a full-blooded brother, and him and I grew up together. But I also have two sisters who are way older than me. Like, I think they're like in their 50s.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm at 30.
Yeah, so they're way older, no question.
Yeah. Wow. My dad was quite a few years older than my mom. So my sisters are actually older than my mom.
Interesting. I'm going to sit with that for a minute.
They're half sisters.
So how old is your brother in relation to you? Is he older or younger?
He's older. He's a year and 9 months older.
Oh, so not that far off. So you guys did kind
and
of
we're really
grow up
close.
Together. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you do? Do you remember, like, what was your first job? Did you ever have like, did you sell newspapers?
When I was really young, I always babysat.
Oh, very cool.
And I would work at the fairgrounds in the summertime so I could go to the fair for free.
What did you
Because
do?
you
What
could
was your job?
cleaning. It was cleaning up. They had a photography where they let people who are like people enter their stuff in and you can win like first prize and all this. And my best friend's mom ran the photography building, so I cleaned up after people, made sure that people weren't touching the pictures and all that. It wasn't a hard job. That was when I was really young. When I got like my first real job, it was at McDonald's when I was like 15.
Really? What did you do at McDonald's? Cash register?
Everything.
Oh, everything.
By the time I was 21, I was an assistant general. I was the assistant GM of the store.
Of a McDonald's?
Yeah.
And you started there at 15?
hmm
Yeah. See,
I worked my way up.
That is pretty outstanding. That is what you know. Every time we hire somebody and every time we get somebody young in, we're always hopeful they're you know, somebody who will come in and work hard and is smart and capable.
It's an anomaly these days, though.
It really,
I feel like.
I was just talking to a friend of mine in Canada, and I have a training, I train housekeeping managers, and I was talking about my course and how there was this company that doesn't have any budget to train their housekeeping manager. Like they just simply don't do it. They're easy to train, like send their CNAs or their LNAs off to a training, but they wouldn't spend a single dime on their housekeeper management. And I said, I was talking to this guy and I said, have we considered going right to the housekeeping manager themselves and asking them if they wanted to be trained instead of asking the company if they want to train them? And he goes, housekeeping managers wouldn't spend. I go, I did. I was told when I was a housekeeping manager, that's all I was consuming, any course I could get my hands on. I always wanted to be better. And he goes, yeah, but you're an anomaly. I'm like, well, all right. So me and Rhonda
Well, and see, that's kind of the thing that when I worked at McDonald's, like the minute I turned 16 in Montana, you can work 40 hours. Well, could back then. I don't know if it's changed since, but I could back then. So I worked when I was 16, I worked 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. and then I would go to school, kept straight A's.
Wow.
But so that's how I kind of worked my way up. By the time I turned 16, I was a crew trainer. 18, I was a manager. And then they sent me to like different McDonald's is good about that. They send you to management trainings and all these different things that I did.
Yeah.
And then so I kind of got my management training from them, but I wasn't there long enough to like actually let it stick, I guess. And managing housekeepers is different than managing a bunch of teenagers at a fast food restaurant.
Managing housekeeping is different than any type of management. It really is. I tell everybody, if you can be a successful, even halfway successful housekeeper manager, you could probably rule the world.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's hard because it's like you get a rough crowd sometimes. The housekeepers, some of them are like stubborn. I feel like a lot of housekeepers are stubborn and set in their ways about things. And so that's
there are a lot
challenge.
of people who are no question.
That's true.
I've been punched in the throat. I've had my tire slashed. I've had all kinds of run-ins. So I know it could be a rough and tumble world out there in the whole EBS field. I'll
really
tell you what.
Yeah.
You haven't lived until you got punched in the throat by a 90-pound housekeeper. That's what I say.
Oh my gosh, 90 pounds. Just
90. She was little.
I
That's
hope
all
that
I'm trying
doesn't
to
happen
say.
to me. I hope that never happens to
me. Me too. Yeah. I hope it doesn't happen either. So you 21. What happened at 21? Why'd you quit? Why'd you get out of McDonald's?
Well, a lot of there's stuff I got tired of making food. I loved the customer aspect of it, but I got tired of food. I get tired of always having breakouts on my face because of it's not, I have sensitive skin, so it was like a lot of that. And then the pay, I was offered another job at a group home taking care of little boys, but I worked the night shift. It was a couple dollars more an hour. So I just took that on, and I worked nights and everyone was asleep. So I cleaned the entire house like every single night and did laundry. And so that's kind of where my housekeeping came into play. And then I also would work part time cleaning apartment move outs. So for a friend of mine. So that's kind of where that
Really?
came into play. Yeah.
What is a
And then,
group home? What is a group home for boys? Because I guess I don't
well, it
know.
was a group home for kids that had mental behaviors, and their parents
Mm.
like needed help, like getting meds adjusted, or they didn't have parents, or they're just kids that some of them are in the system. But I have got punched in the face by one of them, by an 8-year-old that was as tall as me. That was crazy. That was a crazy hard job when they would, oh, because some of them were like bipolar and stuff. Their meds don't work. Do they just have moments? It was different.
My dad worked at a mental, well, at the time I don't think they call them mental institutions anymore, but at the time he worked at a place that they called a mental institution, and
Hmm.
he would come home with some of the first of all, he'd come home a couple of times with a black eye, like that would be a thing, like, you know, and
Oh
and
yeah, I've seen that happen before.
he'd have some of the craziest stories, like people were just completely off their, out of their mind, like just uncontrollable and
Yeah, my mom's a nurse, and she picked up a few shifts at a place in Montana that's the same. She did not like it. That's My mom is a nurse, and that's how I got into nursing home. Like
no
cleaning.
kidding.
Yes, but
Wow.
I never wanted to work at a nursing home because my mom worked at one and I grew up at them pretty much. And it was because of the smell. I hated the smell of nursing homes, which is where now I'm here and I'm like, I can't have the smell. We got to get these floors done. We got to change out mattresses.
Is it the smell of elderly or is it the smell of urine?
The urine
Yeah.
is most of it because the elderly
Yeah.
smell, that's not going to go away.
Yeah.
But it was I think at the time it was probably more like the urine and or like the combination of people using the bathroom and lunches coming out. I was younger too, but
Yeah.
I grew up in and out. Like my mom works for the same company that I do. She was at a different building though. Now she trains our CNAs, but um, I grew up with the Goodman Group, which owns Hillside or owns Hillside. So since I don't know, I think my mom worked there first go around when she was pregnant with me. So
Ah.
when I was sick, they would like put me in a bed by her office at another. Yeah,
Staying home
that's
from
how it
school was
was.
not fun for you.
Oh no, it never was because I was just at the nursing home when I was
Does not
younger,
sound like a good time for a little
or I
kid,
was
that's
like
for
under her
sure.
desk taking a nap.
So, how's the odor? No, that's a terrible question.
It's good
Now that you
here. I
now
have
that you're
got
in
it under
charge.
control
Now that
here.
you're in charge, yeah.
It actually
It
wasn't that bad here when I started, so
yeah,
it
it's a
just
it's a it's a weird thing because you could be doing everything right in your housekeeping department, like everything. You could be the cleanest
mhm.
building and you have one small accident. Somebody has an accident in the front. It smells like urine and everybody thinks it's the dirtiest place. Like
I
it's
know.
there's you get no break for it at all.
Yeah, that's for sure. Because like that happens still right now. I'll walk down the hall, be like, "Ooh, what was that?" They're like, "Oh, we're just taking care of this resident." Oh, okay. Like I go check the room. Is it dirty? What's going on? But that's always going to be a complication in a nursing home. It is what it is.
Yeah, no question. And
I
I'm
became like
always
a
you go.
go ahead. Okay, so yeah, after I left the group home, I took a manager job at a hotel. And then that's where I got tired of it because, oh my gosh, you have this much time to do this much work. And I just got tired of it. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I don't want to work here anymore. And then she told me that my boss up here was looking for a housekeeping manager, and I jumped on it right away, fell in love with it, actually. I
Wow.
think
How
it's
long
more
did you?
about, it's not just the housekeeping part either that I, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You know what? There's
I
a delay
didn't just
between
fall in love
us.
with that. I see that. It's annoying me. That I didn't just like the housekeeping part of it. I like getting to know the building too. Like even the maintenance part of it, I've kind of just like, ooh. And I know a lot about our building now, so I've been here 3 years now. I've learned a lot.
When you were cleaning a hotel, how long did you do that for?
2 years. I was managing it for 2 years.
Hmm. Yeah, hotel's a whole different animal.
Well, the hotel was located right next to a brewery that always has concerts in the summertime, so we would get a rough crowd a lot because they would stay at the hotel and they would be wasted from from the concerts and destroy the hotel rooms. And I'm not good at cleaning up vomit, and I had to a lot there. I hated it, so I was glad to take the out.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. I cleaned hotels too for a little bit, and I didn't work at a I didn't work at a like a 5-star hotel. I worked at like a 1-star hotel. And so the people who stayed at a 1-star hotel, to your point, are not the cleanest.
Yeah.
And so they make your job uh, challenging, very challenging.
How long did you last working at a hotel?
Uh, well, all right. So I worked at 2 different hotels, but one was at a ski resort, and they were kind of the same in the sense that they had the same kind of we had the same problems with people. They were young people, and there was a lot of drinking, and it would not be unreasonable to find a hole in the wall, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of maintenance issues. But the first one that I worked at, I was 16. And what was so great about it was, well, first of all, I was the only man housekeeper. So that's pretty cool. No. But you got to keep whatever they left behind. And like if it was something like I got the best pair of sweatpants I ever owned because somebody left them behind. But I had to wait like 3 weeks. Like you had to wait some amount of time. If
Hmm.
nobody called and claimed them, you got to keep them. But
Yeah.
you got to keep, like, they would leave beer behind. They would leave food behind. We got to, like, we ate and drank like kings when I was 16 at a ski resort, cleaning a ski resort. So that was a pretty good
That's
perk.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. That's one part I do kind of miss a little bit. Get to take home those like nice bottles of wine and stuff when they leave them. But our at the hotel I worked at, they would like put everything in a bin for like you said, like 3 weeks or whatever. And a lot of the time, the owners of the hotel would just take it home.
Oh,
And I was
that's
like, yo,
unfair.
I found that. But one time I found like the Clinique Happy perfume, and I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is an expensive perfume. And I was like, ooh. And I put my name on it and I stuck it in the corner and I waited the 3 weeks. And like before the owners came in, I was like, mine. Because it was such an expensive perfume. I was like, oh, I gotta have that. I don't know why. It was just that thing. That was
It
actually probably a fun thing though about working at the hotel. I think that's it. Like taking home the beer is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a unique little perk that you wouldn't know going into it, but people do generally leave unopened beer, wine, liquor bottles. I mean,
Hmm.
it's amazing the amount of food and beverage that is left behind. And I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to take it home. You're going to eat it at break.
Right? I my stepdad, he would watch my kids while I was at work on the weekends, and so I would always bring him beer. I'm like, here you go to pay for it. So I didn't have to pay for childcare because he was like, okay, I'll take that. I also didn't know that you should tip your housekeepers at a hotel. I didn't know that was a thing until I worked at
Really?
a hotel.
Really?
Yeah.
There is a company that I just learned about where they are making it so that you can, if you want to, you can tip your housekeeper with a text. So instead of leaving money in an envelope, which, by the way, when I worked at a hotel, we always had we either had a lot of thieves or we had a lot of suspicion, because like our manager, I wasn't the manager, our manager would go and inspect every room before they were cleaned. And we were all like, BS. The only reason why she's doing that is so she can collect envelopes. We always thought that, whether it was true or not, we always thought that. And there's a new technology out there where this company is making it so that you can, like, imagine you working at the hotel, that every housekeeper, every room was assigned, that you could you get a text message, how is your housekeeping? If you would like to leave a tip, click here, and you could leave a 15-20% tip right on your phone just with a text message. You just
I
add
like
it to
that.
your bill. Yeah.
That's
I think that's pretty
cool.
cool too. Yeah. There was another thing I really like, another one of those kind of types of programs, not for tipping, but for getting to know if a room has been cleaned or not, is there's a hotel in Las Vegas where they would, once you clean the room, once you're done cleaning the room, you just pick up the phone and dial a code. And it's like 789 and then a star and then the room number, 1124. And then the EVS manager would get that text. The room's done, room's done, room's done. Isn't that pretty cool? Because
That's
otherwise we're always
cool.
trying to
I
figure
like that
out.
because like
Yeah.
that was one of the ours. We had to enter ours into the computer, but a lot of the time, like we'd just be getting a room done and someone wanted an early check-in or something, so I had to use a walkie or pick up the phone and call the front desk. And I was like, oh, that is a cool system. I like that. Just get a text message. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's pretty great too. There's
It's crazy how it's crazy how different like the housekeeping in a hotel versus a housekeeping at like a nursing home is. There's a lot of difference.
Yeah, I was just at a conference and somebody asked me, because I've been working in healthcare forever, but I started my career working in contract services. Like we were doing office buildings, hotels, banks, schools. My first housekeeping job was in a school, cleaning a high school. And there's a lot of people who want to bid a housekeeping job in healthcare by square footage. They're like, how come you don't just bid it like, so much of a cost per square foot? And I'm like, because you're talking about going there once. Like you go to an office once, you go to a bathroom once, you go to a resident room once. That's not healthcare. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
All day.
All day. Trying to manage the messes people leave behind. It can be quite a chore.
It really can be quite a chore. I know it's I'm always like, oh, I just cleaned up that room, and then something spills. I'm like, go right back.
Yeah, what's there's another company that I know that does Class A office buildings. So they've made like all their money doing commercial cleaning, and they just bought a company that provides services to nursing homes. And it's so fun to watch them handle problems because they handle them so differently than we do.
Yeah.
Like they were having a problem with staffing on Sundays. So you know what they did? They increased the pay on Sunday. I was like, I've never heard of that before. They're like, yeah, we just decided to pay everybody. If you're going to work Sunday, you get paid more. Like, what?
That's what? Sundays are like the slow day at the nursing home for me. Like that's the day I would love to work more because that's slow day. You don't have everybody there. Nobody's got appointments. It's so much easier just to have the low, like only one or two housekeepers on that day than it is in the week. That's funny.
I love it. I love that they're paying more money. Anytime we can get housekeepers more money, I say yes. Yes,
Oh, I feel
yes.
like housekeepers are always just like the low ball,
Always.
but
Always. It's true.
it's that way nationwide. So
Yeah, it's not like that around the world. I have some pretty good contacts in like other places like India and England and France, and some people who have been on the show and who work in the cleaning business. Of course, they work at 5-star hotels, so they're cleaning some really amazing property, but they get compensated pretty well, because they're very, of course, they're considered very important. I would say that housekeeping is I always want to call it a housekeeping home. They insist on calling it a nursing home, but I think if we change what we call it, we do a little better. But I think the cleanliness of your facility is hands down one of the most important things.
well, that's like it's extremely important because like you get new residents come in or like their families, like if you walk in and the first thing you see is stuff on the floor or the smell or something, like that's your first impression. So like housekeeping really in my eyes is your first impression because their work is the first impression that people see. Like they don't necessarily see like the nurses and the CNAs doing their stuff right away, but they sure as heck do walk into a building and see the building first. Like,
No question.
It's it's hard when you are short staffed too, and so they're like, oh, we got to take care of the resident rooms and stuff. So then like the floors aren't getting done or something. I'm like, oh, but the floors need to be done because they look shiny and look nice, and to me, I'm like first impression.
Yeah,
But a lot of people don't look at it that way.
I know. I would never put cleaning resident rooms above floor care.
I know. I actually watched one of your things about that, and you're like, floor care is my number one. I'm like, oh man, I wish it's not feasible right now for my staffing. It will be there though.
Yeah.
Once I get my staffing up.
You know what the problem is? Not the problem. Let me here's the truth. Let me just give you the truth. You are judged by the way your floors look. And that's the only thing you're judged on. People think you're either a good manager or a crappy one based on the way your floors look. It doesn't matter what anybody else says to you. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what anybody else says. It's all about presentation. If your facility doesn't look good, it's your fault.
Yep. All the time. And that's
all the time.
That's one thing though. Like I just wish more people got that. They don't get it.
I know. And
it's huge.
You're absolutely right. And I've had like legitimate like battles with administrators who just simply, you leave it up to them. It's all about toilets. Like toilets. Resident room toilets need to be cleaned. What? Well, I agree they need to be cleaned, but above the presentation of the entire facility, they need to be. No. But you have to listen to the administrator. Who are we? We serve at the luxury of the administrator, but the problem is the administrator always does us wrong, or not always, but when they dictate that everything else is more important than floor care, and then they get mad at us because the building doesn't look good.
See, I got lucky when I came on because our executive director got me a new floor machine because ours was broken. Like she understood the importance of the floor care, so I got lucky with that one. I didn't have to fight on that. So,
what kind of floor do you have?
Oh my gosh! Right now we got 3 different flooring because our building is old. It's from like the 60s, I think, like late 60s, but don't quote me. So we've got different floor. We have Cardine flooring mostly. Which have you ever used Cardine flooring or tried to like clean that? I like it. It looks pretty, but it's a little bit harder to clean. I feel like than people think that it would be, because like you don't have to put the wax and everything on, but it's still like things get stuck to it real easy.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of shiny floors, and those things
Yeah,
don't
and they're
shine.
kind of that matte. Yeah, they don't.
Matte finish,
They're
yeah.
matte, but I get. We do also have residents that see a shiny floor and think they're gonna slip, or say that it's too slippery a lot. So I guess I get it. We've got like the old tile floors that we're slowly taking out. Well, not slowly. We got a lot done this summer. I was excited. We got a
The
whole wing done. I was so
the
excited to see brand
VTC?
new floor.
Is it VTC
Yeah,
you're taking out?
but
What are you replacing it
I
with?
don't
The
know.
luxury vinyl?
The yeah. No. We're using the carding in the rooms too.
Oh, okay.
But we use like we have the light color on that. I think it looks really nice. It really does look nice in the rooms. Like I said, it's different to take care of. This You don't have the stripping and the waxing like you do on the old tiles, but it still it looks good as long as things don't get stuck to it.
So what are you using to clean it? You're just using an auto scrubber?
Yeah, we use the auto scrubber just to clean that. It cleans it up just fine. It just leaves
Mm-hmm.
it leaves a matte finish and not a shine. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only problem.
Yeah,
Like
so you
that
don't
for me, and it's not really a problem. It's just how I see it.
do you have any carpet?
Just in the offices.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so I don't clean the carpets very much. I have a carpet cleaner and I use it like when needed, but our managers have been so good lately about just like vacuuming their own offices, because we've
Oh,
been just our
nice.
staffing is nationwide. So they've
Yeah,
been taking
yeah.
care of their own offices, which has been
Good for
great.
them. Good.
I know.
Good.
I'm so thankful for them to like it's amazing. Because that doesn't happen in a lot of nursing homes. Like you don't get that. And I've even heard you talk about it before, where you're like cleaning up after staff more than you are the residents. And I'm so grateful because I had a huge staffing shortage mid-September, and it kind of just trickled like that. And the CNAs, our med techs, like they all helped out, and they are continuing. They'll tell me, "Hey, I swept this room, but it still needs a."
You are so in and out with this internet connection of yours.
I almost never wear my hair down. Sorry.
uh No, I said the internet connection. Oh, there you go. There's the internet connection. That's what I'm talking about. Housekeepers Podcast. Sometimes you just have to roll with the internet. That's all. You just have to roll with it. No worries. You're back. Maybe.
Well, I'm at work, and there's certain times of the day where you get like, because we have a pharmacy next door that is through our same company. So there's like a certain time of the day where you're just hitting that, where we got people charting, we got them doing that.
Oh, so the internet's being overworked right now.
It is, yeah.
It's one of those things. I understand. So so you guys aren't buffing at all then. So you don't have any need to buff floors.
We've got one hall that has like wood flooring that we could buff, but I don't do it, mainly just because I suck at it. Those
Floor care is the most important thing. What's the matter with you? You get on that buffer and you learn.
I do need the education for that floor. But I know how to run the floor machine. I do know how to run like our buffer and what do you call that thing?
The high speed,
the one
the
that
slow speed.
The side by side.
The side to
Almost
side.
took a wall out the first time I was learning that thing. It just
all
took
of us
off
do.
on me.
All of us do. That's what happens to all of us because it's awkward.
That one was a struggle to learn. I'm still not very good at that one because I'm just like, it just takes off. I can't keep up with it. And I'm tiny. I'm 5'2". I'm like 110 pounds. And
The
the
next
thing
thing you're going to
just
say is
goes.
next thing you're going to say is you're a girl. Listen, it's not about
No.
strength. It's not about strength.
That's
It's
that's what
really,
everyone tells me. Like, it's not about strength. You just need
it
to get
isn't.
it at the right level for you. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. You have to get it so that the bar
but
is
a
right
lot
at
of the
your
time our
hips.
maintenance guys help me out. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they said. Right at your hip. I'll figure it out.
You should. It's important. It's important. It's got to be one of the most important things that you do is floor care. So I'd be putting
Yeah,
that on
I get
the top of the list.
that's like always like my goal is like I want to learn this. And then that was going to be the first thing that I was taught. And then I don't know, I walked into a building that had a lot of older, like we had crank beds. You know what a crank bed is?
Of course. I've been in long-term care for more than 20
Okay,
years.
well,
I've been in long-term care
so
nearly as long as you've been alive. I know what crank
my
beds are.
husband,
Yes.
he works at a sister facility as a CNA, and I'm trying to explain to him like these crank beds, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "An
You know the
electric bed?" I
high-low
was like,
beds that you have
"No,
now?
you have to like." I was like, "No, you have to crank them," and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, "Oh, you are so lucky." So like walked into like, "Oh, we got equipment that we got to take care of." They didn't have a housekeeping manager when I started here. They had the maintenance director doing both housekeeping management and maintenance, but it wasn't working, and
Yeah,
he
that's
wasn't.
common.
I don't know. There was a lot that I had to catch up. I had a lot. Caught up on it, and then started to learn like the floor care, and then COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of haven't really got there. But this summer when we redid a lot of the floors, I got to learn a lot more then.
Oh yeah. How was COVID for you guys? Pretty terrible or?
No, it wasn't terrible. At all. We got lucky in a way, I guess. I don't know if it's luck or if it's just we were doing our job the best we could. I think the first year, like, the 2000, oh my gosh, in 2020, we did not have an outbreak that lasted more than 2 weeks. Like
Oh,
we had
nice.
4 people get it, something like that. So we built our COVID unit and got to take it down. A couple weeks later, it didn't spread. This year, we had, well, like when I was supposed to do this with you before, I got sick, came back the next week, we got COVID. So we built our walls again, like built the COVID unit up 1 month, kept it up for 1 month, and then we were done. And so we didn't lose a lot of residents either. It just wasn't that bad here. But I had seen it at other buildings where it had gotten like bad. I was grateful that it wasn't so bad here.
Yeah, we had and I work in a bunch of nursing homes, but one of the nursing homes I was in, we had I think 80 residents and maybe 30 of them got COVID. Like that's a lot.
That is a
That's
lot.
a big population to have COVID. And then all the staff were coming down with COVID. And it was we actually by the end of 2020, you could test positive for COVID as an employee and still be required to work because we were so short staffed. And if you
Well,
weren't
we had that
symptomatic,
at a sister facility. Like my mom tested positive because, like I said, she's a nurse, but she's also now our CNA trainer. But she tested positive the first go around, but she didn't. She's like, "Oh, I feel fine. I'm just a little tired, whatever." And they're like, "Okay, you want to work in the COVID unit?" And she's like, "Okay," because they
yeah,
didn't have staffing.
yeah. Did you ever get it?
No,
No, me neither.
no. And my husband worked in the COVID unit as a CNA, never got it.
Yeah, I never got
And
it
my
either.
kids were only out of school the one like the rest of 2020, like the beginning of 2020, like, yeah, okay, that's when they were out. And then when they went back to school, I get called all the time. They're like, "Oh, they came in close contact to somebody." They never got it. I
Hmm.
I don't know. Some people are just luckier than others.
We have a fun story. My wife and I went to in March. It was March 1st actually. So March 1st we went to Little Rock, Arkansas to run a marathon. And on the plane, my wife wasn't feeling well. And we sat next to some lady who had like gloves and hand sanitizer and wipes and masks. Like it was March 1st of 2020 and she was like all geared up. And we just kind of shook it off like it was funny. And then we went to, while we were in Little Rock, we went to the Bill Clinton Museum. So there's the Presidential Museum of Bill Clinton in Little Rock. And so we go on this tour, and there was a couple from China that was in our tour group. And this is right when the president was like shutting down travel, especially to China. You know, the world was
Hmm.
all on edge. It was all this big thing. And everybody was super scared of these two people from China. And then we get back. And again, my wife hasn't been feeling well this whole time. We get back, and my wife tests positive for COVID.
Oh
So
man.
she was the only one who had COVID, I think. Like, it was so funny. Like, we were nervous about the Chinese couple, and it was my wife who probably infected them. It's, you know,
Yeah. But when they closed down everything, it was like my son's birthday was April 1st, and
mm,
it was his 10th birthday. So he's like, I already had it planned. And I was like, okay, well, canceled your birthday. Everything's shut down. What do you want to do? It, I just like that year just canceled.
that so sucks. So sucks. It's
They
so
did.
terrible. It was such a
Was it
crappy
a
year.
lot of, it was it a lot of changes for you? Like as in working as an environmental service, how much changed for you with that?
It changed everything for me personally because I'm a consultant. And prior to the shutdown of the country in
Hmm.
2020, I worked in a ton of nursing homes, and I would go there every week to different nursing homes, training EVS directors. You know, we would be doing inspections and workloading and job routine creation and trying to figure out how to work short staffed and all that. But I'd be doing it in person. And then then the government said, here in New York anyway, they said to reduce the number of consultants going in and out of your facility. And I'm technically considered a consultant. And so I remember a couple of nursing home administrators saying, can we do this? Can we still use you without you coming in? Like, how is that possible? Because the truth is, the problems I solve are still there, you know? So if you just take
Yeah.
me out of it, you still have the problems of trying to train the new EVS directors and everything. And so I said, yeah, let's try FaceTime. And so that's how I started doing it, is with FaceTime. I'm like doing tours and inspecting toilets and, just on FaceTime because we didn't know what else to do. And I had this in-service scheduled I was going to talk about what a leadership system is and for EVS directors. And somebody said, are you going to record it? Like, are you going to record it? Because I'm not going to be able to be on the call. And that was the first time I had ever even considered, how do you record the call? Like, can you record a FaceTime video? Like, I didn't even know, like, can you do that? And somebody's like, why don't you just use Zoom? And I didn't even know what Zoom was. And I was like, all right, let's use
Zoom.
Zoom. And that's it. And so since April of 2020, about 70% of my business went completely virtual, to where I've been sitting here behind my desk with a microphone and a camera, doing tours, doing trainings, keynotes, seminars, onboarding new staff, getting ready for surveys, all of it just by being here.
That's that's a lot of change for you.
A lot of change. On the other side, there were still a lot of companies, a lot of nursing homes that still wanted me to come in. So I was still traveling the entire year, still going into a lot of facilities. And the reason is because we still had like major things to overcome. Like, here's one thing that we really struggled with at first. It was, how do you provide floor care? Let's talk about floor care, because floor care is where you're moving air, right? So floor care is moving
Hmm.
air, vacuums move air, high speeds move air, slow speeds move air. How do you manage moving air when COVID is airborne? Do you just stop all floor care? Do you stop vacuuming? Do you turn off all the air handlers? Do you shut off all the fans? Like, we really struggled with trying to figure out the best way. And then we came up with a red, yellow, green zone. So red was COVID. You couldn't do, no air handler, or you could have the air handler on, but no fans, no vacuuming, no floor care, no buffing or side to side. And then the green was the complete opposite. There was no COVID. We could use vacuums. We could turn on fans. We could strip and wax. We could do everything. And then the yellow was the areas between a red zone and a green zone would be yellow. And in the yellow zone, the only thing we allowed was vacuuming, but only with HEPA filtered vacuums. So still no buffing, still no stripping and refinish. But what it took me 3 seconds to explain that to you took us months to work out. It took us months to just go, well, how do you begin? What's a green zone? What's a red zone? What's the zone in between? Calling that yellow. And then the Centers for CMS Medicare Services, they chimed in with their own red, yellow, green zone.
Yeah,
and
I've seen that one.
And it was based on COVID. And so they were like, well, you guys can't use red, green, yellow zones for floor care because we're using that for nursing care, and it'll be confusing. We're like, oh, vey. All right.
It's always those small things that they got to throw in there, and like what?
Yeah. So it was very challenging. It still is challenging to try to figure out how to navigate, especially now because COVID's still out there. We have the Delta variant now that's out there. We have everybody that's vaccinated, and it doesn't seem to matter. So vaccinated or not vaccinated doesn't matter, it seems. And then we're still charged with providing a clean and sanitary environment, safe environment from the EVS department, and it's really a challenge. And put on top of that, we don't have any staff.
Yep, that's the only challenge that kind of came along with COVID. And it didn't affect me. So I got lucky. Again, I always get lucky. When they shut everything down, I got a housekeeper who worked at the mall here in town, and he did floor care there, and he did housekeeping, and he lost his job. So I snatched him up. He's PRN now, but he's still around. I got lucky because I was like, okay, I actually have someone who knows how to do floors that I don't have to train because I barely know still. So I kind of just handed the torch to him, and he did. And like I said, he took care of them, and he kept the rooms clean. I got real lucky because a lot of staff that worked I got 2 people that came from the mall because they all lost their jobs. The mall just was like, sorry. So I got housekeepers that way when COVID started. So I didn't lose a lot because they all just kind of came on. And then after everything started to open up, that's when it all just went awry.
That's a really good point you're making too, because that was another one of the things that we did right off when everything was being closed down. And I actually heard a story about ABM. Do you know what ABM is? ABM is I think it's one of the largest cleaning janitorial service companies in the world, actually.
I've heard of them.
It's right up there. And they do everything. So they provide service. Don't quote me, because I'm going to have to get somebody from ABM on here. But I think it's one of my goals, one of my missions in life is to get the CEO of ABM. It seems like one of their biggest focuses is on airports, train stations, all the travel industry. It seems like I see ABM every time I'm in an airport. I see ABM. They're the ones who are.
That's probably where I've seen it before. Is at an airport
in 2020? So I read this story that in 2020, there's right when it happened is when I read it, because it gave us the idea to do the same thing. All the travel got shut down, which means everybody who was cleaning in the airports and train stations and bus stations and all that got shut down. They got furloughed. They're going to lose their job. At the same time, this is over in England. at the same time, healthcare in England was struggling with getting staff, especially in the EVS departments. And so ABM just transitioned all of their EVS staff in the airport to the hospital. And I was like, I read that. I was like, I have to call the
That's
airport.
brilliant.
I have to call the airport, right? So, like, calling the airport, we called everybody. We called the airport, we called all the hotels, we called all the restaurants, and just simply saying, I know you guys are shut down. We're over here at this XYZ nursing home. We're hiring. We need staff. So if you have any cleaners, food service workers, anybody's looking for work, send them our way. And a lot of people did come and to fill out an application, and we got a lot of traction from it. So that's where I got the idea. ABM.
Yep. That's kind of what I did. I mean, I was like, oh, I'll take your housekeepers. But again, like our Missoula's small. It is small. Our mall is small. They didn't have a lot of housekeepers. So I took the 2 good ones they had and I was like, let's go.
You know what? And you know what the other thing about the mall is? Their number one focus in the mall for cleaning is
the floor.
The floor.
It's always the floor.
You never notice whether or not there's a cobweb. You always notice the floor.
Never.
Right? I mean, the mall could be dusty, cobwebby. There could be birds living in the rafter. If those floors are shiny, you're like, who cares? So there's some bats in the rafters. Like you wouldn't care. Floor care. It's all about floor care.
That's so true because, like, I can walk into a room and see like there's dust all on the light, or we got a lot of residents that have a lot of stuff sometimes, and I'm like, oh my God, there's dust everywhere. No one will say a word about that stuff, but the minute the floor has something on it and it's sticky, they're like, oh my God, you need to get in that room. It's so dirty. It cracks me up a little bit because it is. I
walked in and my foot stuck a little bit, so it's nasty. Oh, okay.
That's funny.
The word, we got to get out of here, but the word that I always find fascinating in healthcare is the word disgusting, because nurses use the word disgusting to label everything misplaced, everything. I had a nurse tell me that the laundry on the laundry cart was disgusting. And I was like, all right, show it to me, because there's a whole vial. I can't even tell you, in my mind, if there's laundry on a clean linen cart that is disgusting, I mean, we didn't do a good job cleaning it. Can you agree? Like, that's what I think.
Yeah.
That's
what I was thinking.
Yeah. We go up there and it's not folded. Look at it. It's disgusting. I go, ma'am, we have to change your vernacular. I'm going to get you a dictionary. That is not disgusting. Don't you ever use that word again. Disgusting.
I know that it's funny to see, like, my husband, like I said, he's seen it. His version of dirty and gross and disgusting versus mine. And I'm like, you don't know. All the time.
Absolutely. So I can't believe you're married to a CNA. Good for you. Good for you. Crossing the enemy lines.
Can't believe you're married to a CNA. Oh, I know. Some days I'm like, we'll argue about things. Like, he'll tell me, because we don't work at the same building, but like he'll tell me like, oh yeah, the CNA this or that, and I'm just like, no. Why are they making like the gloves on the floor? I remember your podcast about that. We went toe to toe on that one too. My husband and I did. I was like, you guys can't just pick up the glove off the floor. He's like, we're busy. I'm like, you are such a CNA. That's what I tell him. He's like, tell him all the time, you're such a CNA.
We're busy. That's why. Because they're busy.
Everyone's busy.
Housekeepers Podcast. Ruminating. I want to tell her how much I hate her husband, but I don't know him. No, I love CNAs and nurses.
I do too.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for them because their job is hard. It's not easy.
All
But
of
they
our
don't.
jobs are hard. All of our jobs are hard.
My job is different.
Cleaning up after others is hard. Taking care of others is hard. Being a resident in a nursing home, hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Oh, and it got harder in the last couple of years for them. Like that's
Hmm.
all that really matters is the residents, anyways.
Hmm. It's been very challenging for them too. So it's hard on all of us. But when we
Hmm.
make it more hard or harder than it needs to be, all right, what are we doing? What are we doing? You probably heard me say this before, but I had an administrator as I was complaining about gloves on the floor, tell me that he tells his new CNAs that they don't have to pick up after themselves. It is an added perk. That's what he says. He's like, no, listen, if you
Yeah,
work for
I
me, you
heard
don't
you
even have to
say that.
pick
I was
up
like,
after yourself.
that's not a perk.
That's that's rude, rude. That's somebody who really, really, really does not understand the culture he's creating in his facility. Because when you treat
Right.
when you treat housekeeping like that, like they're disposable, like they're not, it's their job to, it's one thing to say that it's housekeeping's job to pick up because it is. It's another thing to throw stuff on the floor and say, well, it's your job to pick it up. That's demeaning in more ways than I can even articulate.
I don't think a lot of people understand that either, but how that does come off to housekeepers because it does. It sucks when you hear it that way.
It
Like,
is
well, that's
completely demeaning. It is it is
it is.
it is terrible, and I wouldn't treat them that way, and I don't know why they treat us that way. It's so convenient. How nice for them to look down on housekeeping. Good for you. Good for you. It's
That's
Thanksgiving
why I
week.
think
I
I'm
should
so
be more
lucky.
positive here.
Like I said, that's why I'm so thankful that I have a staff that's like, let me help you. Like I got
Yeah, no,
CNAs
that's great.
helping, I got
That's
med
great.
techs, nurses. It is wonderful. I'm grateful for that
I got to tell you
because
that I
I've had travelers come in. We get traveler CNAs, and they act like, oh, you're just a housekeeper. Oh, that's your job. But then to see like our staff helping us out, I'm just like, I'm so grateful for them because they understand that my job, our housekeeper's job isn't as easy as it seems, or it is more important than it seems like people think it is.
I
So
have
I'm
worked
grateful for that.
I have
That's my
worked in
Thanksgiving gratefulness.
yeah, I like it. I have worked in nursing homes where they didn't need housekeeping. They simply didn't need it. They did such a good job picking up after themselves and picking up after residents. If a resident drops a tissue, they just picked it up without question. Like housekeeping, you could be no housekeeping for a week, you wouldn't know it. Other than like the floor wasn't being mopped, and nothing
Yep.
was being dusted. But other than that, I mean, they just you know what they did? They didn't throw stuff on the floor, and so they didn't have to pick it up. Imagine that.
Yeah. That's
Imagine that.
whoa, crazy.
So there are a lot of really great CNAs out there, great LNAs out there, great nursing out there, and then there are some that take all my attention, and they're
Hmm.
not so great.
Yep.
Drive me crazy. Well, this has been fun.
It's
Thank you for
always
coming on.
it has been fun. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. See, this was not as bad as you thought it was going to be.
I know I was so nervous, and then it was fine afterwards. We just have that lag though that's driving me nuts.
Yeah, the little internet lag is a little challenging, but you know what they say when it comes to the internet. I mean, you're all the way. I'm in New York City. You're in Montana. That we're even being able to have a face-to-face conversation like this. This is a miracle. It's a
It's
miracle.
awesome though.
It's pretty great. It's really, really great. Well, that's it for us with here at the Housekeepers Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us today for Ronda Loftus. What was it? What was it again? Loftus what?
Helit.
Rhonda Loftus-Helit. Do you
There you
say the
go.
word hyphen or you just put the hyphen in there?
Majority of the time I just say Ronda Loftus.
Oh,
But I'll say it depends on Ronda Loftus-Helit. I just make a space.
Oh, Ronda Loftus, pause, Helit.
There you go.
All right, good. I got it. Well, thank you everyone so much for tuning in and hanging out with us today here at the Housekeepers Podcast. If you are interested in learning more about our management training program, specifically for housekeeping managers who work in healthcare, we really only cater to people who work in healthcare nursing homes like Miss Rhonda and I. Visit housekeepingleadershipacademy.com. Otherwise, Rhonda, thank you so much for being here with me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Happy
I appreciate
Thanksgiving.
you too.
Well, all
You
right.
too.
Happy